I funded my daughter's home for 4 years. Then her husband said I didn't belong there. And her? Have you ever built a home with all your heart, only to have the people inside slam the door in your face? If you gave your life for your children, and then they said you didn't belong at their fancy gatherings, what would you do? My name is Rose Carter, and at 62, I've learned nothing hurts more than your own family turning their back on you. At Easter, I stood in my daughter's house, the one I'd paid for over 4 years. Her husband, Stephen, looked me in the eye and said, "Rose, you don't need to come back. You don't fit in at this fancy Easter party." Not fitting in, those words cut deep, leaving me shocked and wounded. I'd spent my life building a home for my daughter, Emma, to make her happy. Now her husband was pushing me out of it. And Emma, my quiet daughter, just stood there, staring at the floor, silent. I'd been a widow since Emma was in preschool, struggling to give her everything. I gave up my dream of retiring by a lake and saved every penny for their house's mortgage. 4 years of payments, all from my savings, because I thought that's what family does. I believed it would give Emma and her son, Liam, a steady life. But Stephen, oh, he was ungrateful, bold as brass. He didn't even work full-time, just tinkered with freelance graphic design. He lounged in the house I paid for, scrolling through social media, while Emma covered the bills. That Easter party was a nightmare I'll never forget. I stood there, clutching a glass of juice, trying to blend in. Stephen's friends buzzed around, praising the house. I overheard one say, "Stephen's so talented. He got this huge house so young." It was absurd. He strutted past, showing off the place like he'd earned it. While I faded into the background, I kept hearing his words in my mind, each one a fresh wound, not fitting in. What did that mean? Was it my second-hand jacket next to his trendy sweater? Or that I dared to exist in his home? I raised Emma alone after her father passed. Nights working late, eating instant noodles so she could have new books. And this was my reward, being told I didn't belong by a man living off my sacrifice. I wanted to shout, but I didn't. I left, heart heavy with pain. Emma didn't call afterward. No text. No, "Mom, you okay?" Nothing. That silence hurt worse than Stephen's words. My daughter, the one I gave everything for, couldn't even defend me. I started thinking about her. Really thinking. Emma was always gentle, a sweet kid, but too timid. She was a nurse, earned a good living, but had no voice around Stephen. I used to think they were content, that he was just a bit picky. Now, I wasn't so sure. Something was wrong in that perfect house. And I'd be darned if I didn't find out what. Stephen, goodness, where do I begin? When I met him, he seemed charming. Too charming, maybe, for Emma, who deserved someone solid. He was solid at spending money he didn't make. That's for sure. I tried to get along with him, bringing homemade pies, offering to teach him my grandma's cookie recipe. He just grinned and said, "Nah, Rose, cooking's not my vibe." Not his vibe. I should have seen it then. But I thought I could win him over. After the party, I didn't know what to do with myself. I started checking his social media, scrolling through his posts. One night, I parked down the street, not wanting them to spot my old Toyota. I crept to the side of the house, heart racing. Through the window, I saw Stephen on the couch, phone in hand, looking like he hadn't moved all day. Liam played alone with blocks in the corner, unnoticed. Then Stephen's sister, Carla, walked in, a woman I'd met once. All fake laughs and loud perfume. Stephen started talking, and I caught enough to make my blood boil. "Carla, you should move closer," he said, voice smug. "Emma's no help, can't decide anything. And Rose, always poking around like she owns the place. I need my space." No help? Emma, my daughter, worked long shifts to keep them afloat. And I'd poured every cent into their house. He had the gall to call me the problem. My hands shook so much I nearly dropped my keys. I wanted to barge in, yank that phone away, and yell, "Who paid for your precious space? You ungrateful jerk?" But I didn't. I stood there, the spring air stinging my cheeks, feeling the world crumble beneath me. My space. I'd given up my retirement, my dreams, my life for that house, for Emma, for Liam, and he was whining about needing space while living off my hard work. I felt fury, not just anger, but the kind that makes you sharp and bold. Stephen thought he could shove me aside, treat me like some meddling old lady. He was wrong. I went home and sat in the dark, done with tears. I wouldn't beg for a place in their lives. If Steven wanted to play mean, I'd play meaner. I didn't know how yet, but I swore that night I'd uncover what he was hiding, what he was doing to my daughter. I'd make him regret crossing me. This was far from over. So there I was, planning, because my daughter's husband decided I was the enemy. After hearing his cruel words, I watched Emma closer. What I saw scared me to my core. My daughter was breaking, and I'd been too caught up to notice. I invited her and Liam for dinner a week later. Not to pry, just to see her. She arrived looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. Pale face, messy hair, tired eyes. I made her favorite, chicken casserole, hoping it'd lift her spirits. She barely ate, just poked at the food while Liam talked about dinosaurs. I asked, "Work okay, sweetheart?" She mumbled, "Yeah, Mom, it's fine." But her eyes screamed she wasn't fine. I asked gentle questions about home. "I swear, nothing pushy. Everything's okay," she said flatly, then switched to Liam's school play. I didn't buy it. I started noticing things. She flinched when her phone buzzed. Likely Steven texting demands. Once, when I dropped off muffins for Liam, I saw her in the yard, staring at her car like she wanted to drive away forever. My gut told me something was deeply wrong. But Emma was like a locked box. Getting her to talk was near impossible. So I did what any worried, determined mom would do. I kept my eyes peeled for a chance to learn more. That chance came a month later. Emma called, sounding frazzled, asking if I could watch the house while they went away for a weekend. Apparently, Steven had booked a pricey beach resort, no doubt costing more than my monthly budget. I didn't question it, just said yes. I wanted answers. I arrived with a bag of snacks, acting like I was there to water plants and check the mail. The house was a disaster. Dirty dishes in the sink, Liam's toys scattered, Steven's stuff tossed everywhere. Typical. He couldn't lift a finger unless it was to tap his phone. I started tidying up, because apparently I was still a fool. Then I wandered into Emma's home office. A small room off the kitchen, stuffed with her laptop and piles of papers. I wasn't planning to snoop, but as I dusted the desk, I saw a drawer slightly open. Inside was a worn notebook, the kind a stressed writer might use. My heart thumped. I knew it was wrong, but I opened it. The pages were chaotic, filled with Emma's handwriting, shaky and rushed, like she was pouring out her soul. The first line stopped me cold. "I'm sinking. I can't keep going." I sat in her chair, hands trembling, and read on. It was like uncovering my daughter's hidden pain. "Steven spends it all. I work to exhaustion, and it's never enough. He says if I leave, he'll take Liam, and I'll lose him." My stomach churned. There was more. Mom tried to help, but it made things worse. I'm stuck between them, and I hate myself. That hit hard. Me, making things worse? I thought I was her anchor, paying for their house to give her stability. But she wrote that I was part of her prison. I wanted to cry, to yell, to rip that notebook apart. But I kept reading, page after page of my daughter's torment. One line broke me. "Sometimes I think Liam would be better without me." I closed the book, my chest so tight I could hardly breathe. Emma wasn't just sad, she was lost. And Steven wasn't just lazy, he was a leech, using Liam to trap her. The worst part? I'd helped him, all those years paying the mortgage, thinking I was building a home for my family. What was I really doing? Handing Steven a free pass to bleed Emma dry. I sat there, staring at the notebook, hating myself for being so blind. I'd wanted to be the hero mom, but I'd been a fool, letting a man ruin my daughter while I funded his lifestyle. I didn't take the notebook, it felt like stealing her heart. But I memorized every key word. Driving home, I kept seeing Emma's face, those weary eyes. I knew I couldn't just sit there, but I also couldn't rush in like when she was a kid with a scraped knee. She was an adult, trapped in a cage I'd helped build. I had to be clever, not loud, so I started small. I called her a few days later, casual, asking if she wanted to grab tea. "Just us," I said. "No big deal." She hesitated, the silence heavy, but finally agreed. We met at a cozy cafe near her hospital, the kind with chipped mugs and waiters who smiled. I didn't mention the notebook. Instead, I nudged gently. "You seem tired, sweetheart. Is work too much?" She shrugged, sipped her tea, and said, "Just life, Mom, you know." But then she let slip. "Steven's been pushing to redo the bathroom now. With what money? My savings were gone, and I knew Emma was stretched thin. I bit my tongue, didn't push, just said, "That sounds like a lot." Inside, I was fuming. After reading Emma's notebook, her desperate words about sinking in her marriage, I wasn't just mad anymore. I thought about how Steven treated her like a bank, then dismissed me like I was nothing. I wasn't going to yell or cry. I was going to act. And trust me, when a mom like me gets serious, you'd better watch out. My first step was cutting the money. For 4 years, I thought I was giving Emma a dream home. A dream home? More like Steven's personal playground. And I was the fool who paid for it. So I called the bank and stopped the payments cold. No warning, no debate, just done. Then I called Lisa, an old friend from my teaching days, now a lawyer who knew how to tie things up tight. I told her I wanted my name off the house, locked away where Steven couldn't touch it. She didn't mince words. "Rose, this could get ugly. If Steven's as bad as you say, he might fight back." I laughed. "Let him try. I've got nothing left but my grit. And he's already stomped on that." She set up a trust for the house. Smooth as silk. My name was off the deed. And any move on the property now needed legal hoops Steven couldn't dream of jumping. I knew he'd be livid when he found out. No more of my money to prop up his ego, just Emma's salary and his empty boasts. Did I feel bad? Maybe for a moment, thinking of Liam, but then I remembered Emma's words, "I'm sinking," and guilt gave way to resolve. Next, I needed proof Steven wasn't just a freeloader, but a true parasite. I couldn't just tell Emma, "Your husband's awful." She'd clam up, like always. I needed her to see it, to feel the sting of his betrayal. So I played the long game, starting with a call to her one evening. I kept it warm, motherly, no pressure. "Sweetheart," I said, stirring my tea for calm. "I've been thinking about you and Liam. Are you okay with money? Houses aren't cheap." She sighed, a heavy sound I knew too well. "It's tight, Mom, but we're managing." "Managing?" Her voice cracked like thin ice. I pushed softly but firm. "If you need me to check things, you know I'm good with budgets." Silence. Then, finally, "Maybe, I'll think about it." It took 2 more calls and a batch of her favorite lemon bars. But she caved. One stormy afternoon, she texted me the login for their joint bank account. "Don't tell Steven," she wrote. "Oh, honey, I wouldn't dream of it." That night, I sat at my kitchen table, laptop glowing, and dug into their finances like a detective. What I found wasn't shocking, but it still hit hard. Thousands gone on Steven's whims. A $2,500 watch from some brand I couldn't pronounce. $600 for a wellness retreat, weekend. Shoes, dinners. A $900 consult with a branding coach who probably just flattered him. And the kicker? All charged to his card. Tied to Emma's account. Her transactions were basic: groceries, Liam's school fees, car repairs. I checked his social media. There was the watch, glinting on his wrist, captioned, "Treating myself because I'm worth it." Worth what? I printed every damning transaction. And I didn't stop there. I emailed Lisa the files, labeled "Steven's spending spree," and told her to hold them. "This is solid, Rose," she said. "He's been living large on her dime. Time for Steven to stand on his own." I mailed the evidence to their house. No return address. And paid for tracking. Call it petty, but I wanted to know the moment it hit his hands. Emma had let me access their home security app to check on Liam when they were at work. She trusted me with the login, never thinking I'd use it for more. I'd convinced her it was so I could see Liam when I missed him. Then the footage came. Mail carrier dropping the package. Steven stepping out. His face went white, then red, clutching the papers like they'd burn him. He tore them up, muttering, then grabbed his phone and called someone, probably Carla, yelling loud enough for the camera to catch. "She can't do this. She can't." I watched that clip 3 times, feeling a spark of victory. Steven was rattled, and I was just getting started. The next week, I kept close to Emma, calling her, dropping by with small gifts for Liam. I didn't mention the papers, but I could tell something had shifted. She was quieter, her eyes darting when Steven's name came up. One evening, she called me, voice shaky. "Mom, can we talk? Just us?" My heart leapt. "Of course, sweetheart. Come over anytime." She showed up an hour later, alone, looking like she'd been crying. I made tea, sat her down, and waited. It took a while, But she spilled. "Steven's been lying," she said, barely a whisper. "I found those papers you sent. He said it was a mistake. But I checked the accounts. It's all true." I stayed calm, though inside I was cheering. "What do you want to do?" I asked. "I don't know," she said, tears falling. "I'm scared. For Liam. For me. You're stronger than you think," I said, holding her hand. "And you're not alone." That night, Emma stayed over, sleeping in her old room for the first time in years. I didn't sleep, just sat up planning. Steven thought he could bully my daughter, use her money, and toss me out like trash. He was about to learn what a mom like me could do. I helped Emma meet with Lisa the next day. Lisa laid out her options: divorce, financial separation, protecting Liam. It wasn't easy, but Emma listened, her face hardening with every word. By the end of the week, she'd moved money into a new account Steven couldn't touch. She didn't confront him yet, she wasn't ready. But she was waking up. Steven called me a few days later, voice dripping with fake charm. "Rose, we need to clear up this misunderstanding. Can we talk?" "No," I said, sharp and final. "You made your choice when you pushed me out." He tried again, offering to make things right. I hung up. The house trust was ironclad. The evidence was safe with Lisa, and Emma was starting to see the truth. A month later, Emma filed for divorce. Steven fought, but the bank records in my testimony about the house payments crushed his case. He lost the house, his free ride, and most of his pride. Emma and Liam moved into a smaller place. But it was theirs, free of his shadow. I didn't get my savings back. But I got something better: my daughter's strength and a bond with Liam I'd never lose. One evening, as we baked cookies together, Emma hugged me. "Thanks, Mom," she said, "for not giving up on me." I smiled, heart full. "Sweetheart, I never would."